Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Nelson Chamisa announced a few days ago that he's coming back from his sabbatical leave to be actively involved in politics again. He took the sabbatical leave in January 2024. On the tail of a dramatic fallout within the party he was leading, CCC. CCC had participated in the 2023 elections, and many people had advised that those elections would be rigged. Zanu PF had not implemented even one token reform to make sure that those elections were free, fair, and credible. And yet, Chamisa and company decided they would participate. Chamisa even boasted that he had plugged all the vote rigging loopholes to make sure those elections, Zanu PF will not be able to rig those elections. He even evoked the name of God, hashtag God is in it. Well, it turned out that God was not in it, because Mnangagwa blatantly rigged those elections. SADC, the AU, and all other election observers condemned those elections as flawed. Chamisa himself, within days of the voting, acknowledged that Zanu PF had rigged those elections. And thus confirming that he was lying. The most interesting aspect here is that while SADC and the AU condemned the election process as flawed and illegal, they could not take any further action to deny Zanu PF legitimacy. Precisely because Chamisa and his colleagues had conned millions of Zimbabweans to participate in those elections. The millions believed Chamisa's lie that he had plugged all the vote rigging loopholes. Once you participate, you have got to accept the results. There are some CCC supporters out there who think they can have it both ways. They've been arguing that, well, since SADC condemned these election processes, they should have denied Zanu PF political legitimacy. Why would SADC do that? You were warned before time that this election process, without reforms, they will be flawed. Zanu PF will rig those elections. And you were warned that if you participate, you will give Zanu PF legitimacy. But you believed Chamisa, that he had plugged all the vote rigging loopholes, hashtag God is in it. Then when it turns out that God was not in it, Chamisa was lying about plugging those vote rigging loopholes, you want to turn around and say, oh, SADC should deny Zanu PF legitimacy. That doesn't happen that way. Regarding the fallout, even at that point, when SADC had said those elections were flawed and illegal, Chamisa's winning CCC candidates, all those who had contested those elections on a CCC ticket and had gone on to win, took up their gravy train seats. This further undermined SADC's own position. As much as they condemned the process as flawed and illegal, they could not deny Zanu PF legitimacy if the CCC candidates who had won have taken up their seats. And indeed, some of them were arguing that where they'd won the elections, those were liberated zones. As if to say, wherever CCC had won, the elections there were free, fair, and credible, which is, of course, nonsense. Because if you didn't have a verified voters roll in the country, you could not possibly hold free, fair, and credible elections. And there was no verified voters roll, even in those areas where CCC won. Chamisa instructed the winning CCC candidates that they should not take up their gravy train seats. All of them, and I mean absolutely all of them, defied him and took up their seats. What followed a few days later was another fiasco, because out of the blue, at least to many ordinary Zimbabweans out there, emerged this gentleman called Sengezo Salambu. He claimed to be the Secretary General of CCC, and he went on to recall a number of those candidates who had won in those elections. That did throw the cat among the pigeons. Some of those who were not recalled at that point decided to side up with Savangu. And there have been at least 3 factions of CCC ever since. Well, with Chamisa's announcement a few days ago that is coming back into politics, this nuclear fallout of CCC leaders following the 2023 elections has resurfaced. According to Mamoyo of Zanu PF, Charlton Hwende is threatening to expose the alleged financial mismanagement, including the embezzlement of funds meant for the election agencies. And this is because Nelson Chamisa has targeted Hwende and others for purge. So there is a political reckoning here. He is back from the sabbatical, and immediately he's up to his eyebrows in the former Triple C political mess that he left. Let me say here and loudly and clearly that I would not be surprised at all that Chamisa should be involved in alleged financial mismanagement, including the embezzlement of funds meant for election agents. After all, Chamisa was a senior member of MDC-T during the 2008 to 2013 GNU. They failed to implement even one token reform when they had the golden opportunity to do so. Why? Because Robert Mugabe bribed them with the trappings of high office. And they forgot about the reforms. At the time, some of the Zanu PF cronies boasted that Mazivanhu MDC adzidza kudya anyerere. In other words, they will never implement any meaningful democratic reforms because they were enjoying the benefits of the gravy train. And that turned out to be right. MDC guys failed to implement even one token reform during the GNU. And ever since the GNU debacle, MDC, Triple C leaders have participated in flawed elections, knowing fully well that they are flawed, knowing fully well that by participating, they'll be giving Zanu PF legitimacy. They've done so out of greed. Chamisa himself was lying in 2018 and then 2023 about the opposition winning those elections. So there is nothing that Charles Hwende can say because we already know there is a mountain of evidence to show that Nelson Chamisa and his MDC-CCC friends are corrupt, incompetent, and liars. Whatever Charles Hwende has got to say will only be adding to what we already know. My main concern here is that Nelson Chamisa has returned from his sabbatical leave and he is going to con millions of Zimbabweans to participate in the 2028 elections with no reforms implemented. And if he succeeds, he will give Zanu PF legitimacy and extend the Zanu PF dictatorship. After 45 years of rigged elections, the last thing Zimbabwe wants is to have yet another rigged election in 2028. We cannot stop Zanu PF rigging those elections. They're in government. they've been given political legitimacy to be the government thanks to Chamisa and company selling out in 2023. We cannot stop Chamisa and company participating. They are participating out of greed. That point cannot be denied. What we can do is make sure that the millions of ordinary Zimbabweans are not conned into participating, believing the idiotic lies that Chamisa and company would win rigged elections. The most important lesson here is that people of Zimbabwe out there must now accept the political reality that Nelson Chamisa and company are corrupt, incompetent, and liars. MDC-CCC leaders are nothing but Zanu PF Team B, playing for Team A to win and Team A to have legitimacy. Why anyone would participate in an election just to give Zanu PF Team A legitimacy and perpetuate the dictatorship beggars belief. Think about it. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.